following show is a paid program.
This is Cam, the Cam Hill Show. On today, we will have Desmond Pitts, who is CEO of Buffalo Soldiers, and a little later, we're going to have Leela James, and we will be National Recording Artist Leela James. We're going to talk about voters registration. Hey, Desmond, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, doing perfect. Let's jump right in and let's talk about voters registration. I know you, Leela James, the Williams Group, which is Greta Williams, a great friend of mine out of real estate, and also Hip Hop Streets Media. All of you all have collaborated together, come together for on next Tuesday, the 22nd, to do a voter registration drive. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the voter registration drive was really something that I wanted to do. I know we've said it quite often that some of the past elections have been the most important election, but this literally is the most important election of our lifetime. So we have to do as much as we can to ensure that people are registered to vote, that people get out to vote. So myself, I'm a voter deputy registrar, so I can sign people up. I can send off their application and everything like that. So I wanted to do something here at the museum. Just came to be that one of my colleagues had also had the same idea with the group of people, Leela James, Hip Hop Streets, the Williams Group. They all wanted to do some of the same things. So we came together, joined forces in September 22nd from 10 to 4. We're going to have a voter registration drive-through voter registration drive here at the museum.
Sounds good. And the museum is Buffalo Soldiers Museum, so people can know that. And that's on Caroline. Is that right? Let's give the address also.
Yeah, so we're located 3816 Caroline, 77004 here in Houston. I always say we're in the heart of Midtown, just shy of downtown.
Absolutely.
We're in the museum district, so it's a great spot.
It's a great location where you guys are located. And the thing about it, what I love about your drive-through registration is because people are talking about COVID. It has hit us really hard and, masking up and putting gloves on and things like that. Let's talk about a little bit how that will look.
Yeah, so the parking lot directly in front of the museum is going to serve as the drive-through. So there's one way in, one way out. All of our volunteers will have probably at least we'll have several volunteers each hour. So we're giving them shifts so that people are not out there in the heat all day. And the majority of our volunteers are registrars, so they can actually sign people up themselves. And what we're doing is everybody has to wear a mask. We're trying to keep the volunteers from having going up to the cars, but that'll probably be the closest interaction that they'll have, just so that we can make sure that we get the applications properly. And we'll have pens that are going to be cleaned, reused. We're going to have clipboards. They're going to be cleaned. After, it goes into one car, it'll be cleaned, and then we'll use it again. We're going to have volunteers and security to help maneuver the traffic. So we've put a lot of things in place to make sure that we're as safe as possible. And that's actually why we wanted to do it as a drive-through, so that people don't actually have to get out their cars.
That sounds great. I love the fact that with voter registration, I think a lot of people don't even know a lot of things about voting, especially now. And the reason I say that is because many people don't even know what to bring with them when they do go vote. Let's talk about that, the things that they will need to bring.
Yeah, so there's always been this misconception of if you have your ID or you have to have some type of verification. I always bring my ID with me because they do ask for some type of verification, but that varies between states. Here in Texas, they do ask for your ID. They actually scan it now. So you do need your ID, some type of identification, and your voter. You don't have to bring the voter registration card, but I always bring it. So there should be nothing else that you shouldn't have to do a blood test or any of those things. It should be
Right,
baseline. Show who you are, make sure
right.
they know who you are, and then you can vote.
And then let's discuss early voting is October 13th through the 30th, and that's 2 weeks for Texas. A lot of places that I know of are 1 day or 2 days or 4 days, but we actually have physical 2 weeks. Let's talk about why voting is so important.
Yeah, voting is very important. I have this conversation with people in my age group, millennials, are very, very important in this election or in any election.
Right.
We're a large generation. Like there's a lot of us, and there's still people on the fence of
Yes,
my vote doesn't matter.
exactly.
But I try to instill in them that your vote matters. When they see things like the current administration and they voted in that, and it didn't happen in their favor, but that doesn't mean that voting doesn't matter.
Right.
If you don't vote, it's worse, and it just it continues to add to a generational problem that we have. Um, but voting is absolutely very important. If you want to make incite some type of change, it starts with voting. Like I actually have a shirt on now that says "I'm here for some good necessary trouble." One of the statements from John Lewis,
Right.
and he always taught us that voting is pivotal in
Right.
any election, local, state, federal, and we
Absolutely.
have to continue to push that narrative for younger people.
We really do. We have to push the narrative towards everybody, including young people, because voting in itself is not just for the president. It's locally also. I mean, you are determining what judge you're going to stand in front of if you have to stand in front of judge. And we're talking about local judges. Some federal judges are appointed, but a lot of the local judges, most local judges are not. They are elected. We also need to discuss the fact that with voting, you're voting on a different type of people that are making the laws, let's just say, okay? So when people are making the laws, you have to really research that person and look at their background, look at what they've done in the past, and let's go from there because at this point, we are in a crisis. We really are.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you mentioned that because, like you said, local elections are the most important. They're the most direct. It directly affects you.
Yes.
In Houston, if you're voting in a Houston election, you have to make sure that you research and you know who you're voting for. Don't just go to the polls and vote for whoever gives you the fly out. And I've seen
Yes.
people do that, and I have friends who do that.
Yeah.
But you've got to be aware. You've got to be more conscious of what's going on in your city, in your state, and in the country.
You really, really do. And I like that. As far as African Americans, many of us do not even understand that we do not really have the right to vote. It's an act. And we need to talk to people about that. That means that whoever the sitting president at that time has to re-sign for us to vote.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like you said, it's not actually a right, but it's a privilege. It's something that we need to continue to do
Right.
because we have that ability to do. And we're talking about the civil rights era when we were fighting for all of these rights. They waited in lines to get rejected. But now we can wait in lines, but our vote actually counts and it actually matters. So there actually is a John Lewis Voting Rights Act that's coming up
Yes.
that we need to push our senators to
Absolutely.
to be a part of. So that's going to enable more rights than we actually had. It's going to put some cap on what changes can be made when you're actually voting.
Yes, yes, yes. There has been a discrepancy, some talk about the fact mail-in votes has been an issue because of the fact that they're trying to detour or stop that from happening in such a way. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I've told people like don't believe the hype.
Yeah.
That's just to discourage people from
Yes.
voting. The postmaster actually sent out. I got word about a week or so ago saying that you can vote by
Yes.
mail. So he's kind of combat that comment or that thing that's going around saying that your vote can be fraudulently
Right.
subjected to whatever the case may be. But that's a scare tactic. and people are falling for it. But I urge people not to fall for that. Early voting, mail-in voting is what they've come up with in terms of absentee
Mm-hmm.
because of the pandemic. So people don't feel safe actually going
Right.
out. So that is an option. In Houston, we're actually opening up NRG and I believe Toyota Center to
Yes.
do drive-through voting places. So that's something everybody's trying to do things into place to make sure that people are safe and people know that they can vote in these other options. So that mail-in voting, if you don't feel safe, make sure that you get it in on time. I know the date is in October. I can't remember the exact date for the deadline for sending in your application for absentee ballot, but please do that if that's the option that you choose.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Early voting, I urge everybody to do because it seems like on that day of voting, something happens. That actual day, the machines, something happens with the machines, something happens with locations. But early voting, you can vote anywhere in your county.
Yeah, absolutely. Early voting is always a great option. Historically, I'm the one that likes to vote on election day. Um, because for me it's an emotional thing. It's an attachment to what what our grandparents, not
Mm-hmm.
ancestors, our grandparents had to deal with in
Right,
terms of waiting in the lines all day to get rejected until we had that right. For
right.
me, I'll wait in the line for 3, 4, 7 hours if I have to.
Uh-huh.
That's just the type of person that I am because I know that it's very important. But early voting is, like you said, it's a span of 2, 3 weeks here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So there's plenty of time, and there's not a lot of lines for early voting.
Not at all. And let's also reiterate that ex-felons, if you have a felony or so, but you are not on paper, on paper meaning that you are not on probation, you don't have to go for parole, something like that, or you're not in a halfway house, you are able to vote. I had a young lady who was a client of mine. I do real estate. And in 30 years, she had not voted because she was a felon. And she just
Yeah,
thought in her mind that, and people had said you cannot vote, but she could immediately once she got off, from doing the part she needed to do. And that was years ago.
yeah. That's another scare tactic.
Yes,
I had an interview yesterday, and I said, like, if you don't know, you don't know.
yes,
It's one of those things and they're not going to give you that type of information. I mean,
right.
that's something that you make sure that you go out and research and find out.
Mm-hmm.
But us as a community need to make sure that we share that message to
Absolutely.
make sure that people know that they can vote. Once their record is expunged or they're done serving their time. So it's very
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, and it's October the 5th. I know voter registration that's the deadline for voter registration is October the 5th. October the
Yes.
13th is the first day of early voting, and October the 30th is the last day of early voting. And then November the 3rd is the actual date, election day. We want to also reiterate that part. Let's talk about why did we bring Leela James and everybody else together?
I'm a firm believer that we're more powerful in number.
Yes.
Uh, the more people we have, the more influence we have. Lita James is an amazing
Yes.
recording artist. People love her. So if we have to use our platform, and we should use our platform
Yes.
um, to ensure that our democracy still lives. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I make sure that I do in my everyday operation here at the museum is use our platform, our building, our stake in the community to build community, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that Leela also it also rings true for her as well, and Hip Hop Streets and the Williams Group. So
Mm-hmm.
we all want to do the same thing. So why not do it together? And we have,
Absolutely.
like you said, we have a great location. So
Mm-hmm.
y'all come on.
Okay, absolutely. Let's talk about Buffalo Soldiers. You all will be reopening that time too.
Yeah, so we're reopening Friday actually,
Yes.
and it's been quite some time. We closed down March 16th because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
All the museums we all collectively closed around the same time, uh, and we opened for 2 weeks. Juneteenth, we opened Juneteenth weekend,
Right.
and then closed back down 2 weeks later because of the rise in cases in Texas and Houston.
Mm-hmm.
But we're back, back in business. People have been asking about it. We've got a lot of support, a lot of messages and calls about where we're getting back open. So it's time to get back to the new normal, as
Right.
we're calling it.
Absolutely.
And we're excited. We're excited to be back.
Absolutely. And let's talk about what people will be, as far as the museum itself. You guys, how did you get started? Some people want to know that.
Yeah, so Captain Matthews is the founder
Mm-hmm.
of the Buffalo Soldier Museum, and he collected artifacts for over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
He read probably about 2 paragraphs, I believe he says in his undergrad career preview about the brave soldiers
Mm-hmm.
who were part of 6 all-black units. And he had no idea why there was not any more information. Like, he had never heard about it
Right.
until that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started collecting, started researching, reading books, joining associations. There's the 9th and 10th Horse Cavalry Association, who commemorate the legacy of the Buffalo Soldiers. So he's a huge part of that organization that's national.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, collected artifacts, things over the years. After 30 years, there was a museum inside the house, a gallery inside of his house. So in 2001, that the house transitioned into an actual space that the Houston community could engage with. And that was 19 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We're celebrating 20 years next year. And I tell people, now we get collections and artifacts from all over the world.
Right.
You're talking about grandkids who are cleaning out attics and they find medals and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And if we could use it, we take it on. So yeah, we're almost at 20 years. And I don't think that he had this type of vision for it.
Right.
I know he had to make sure that people know the story,
Mm-hmm.
but especially since I've been here the past 4 years, it's like I'm pushing for greater and for more and sharing more stories and doing more. And I don't think that he had that in mind, but it's turned into an institution rather than just a museum.
Okay. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
We'll be right back to the Cam Hill Show after these messages.
Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, Ron Carter Cadillac, delivers test drives to your home or office. For a limited time, get $16,000 off all in-stock Cadillac 2019 XT5 crossovers and $19,000 off all in-stock 2019 CT6 sedans. Or experience the first ever 2020 Cadillac XT6 Premium Luxury Collection, only $519 with $1 down for 39 months lease. Or purchase and receive 0.9% APR for 72 months with no payments until November. RonCarterCadillac.com.
When it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service, striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, Ron Carter Cadillac, delivers test drives to your home or office. Drive the new 2020 Cadillac XT4, only $399 a month, or the new 2020 XT5, only $429 a month, both for 39 months lease with just $1 down. Or purchase the XT4 or XT5 and enjoy 0.9% APR for 72 months with no payments until November. RonCarterCadillac.com.
Have you been injured in an 18-wheeler accident, truck accident, car accident? Was someone texting and ran into the back of you, not paying attention? It doesn't matter what it is. Give me a call, Attorney Willie Powles. We'll fix it today. The number is 281-881-2457. Again, that number is 281-881-2457. We'll fix it today. Call Attorney Willie Powles.
following show is a paid program.
Hey family, thank you so much for coming back with us. We were just talking to Desmond-Pitts, CEO of Buffalo Soldiers, and we're talking about voter registration, but we have Leela James, national recording artist. Hey, the two of you, how you doing?
I'm great.
Good.
Sounds good, sounds good. Well, myself and Desmond, we were talking about voter registration, but my God, if I didn't get like 100 calls yesterday when I said Leela James was gonna be on here.
That's awesome.
It is
Well,
awesome.
I'm happy to be here. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, Leela, why voter registration? What choice was that? Why did you choose that to work collaboration with Desmond and Buffalo Soldiers?
Why not? I mean, it's high time. It's critical time. I've been voting since I was legally able to vote. I respect the fight, I should say, and the ongoing fight that our ancestors, underwent to allow us basically to even have the right to fight,
Right.
to vote. And so I just feel like it's necessary, especially now with all things that's been going on in these last 4 years. We talk about change, and we have to put the action behind the words. And
Right.
so I just felt like something I wanted to make sure that I was involved, something to kind of make sure the people know the importance of this season and this time, in terms of getting out and seizing the moment, because we may not see another moment,
Right.
as such. And I just think it's critical for us as a people to collectively come together and by any means necessary,
Yes.
get out there and vote.
Absolutely. Desmond, jump right in. We were talking with you about voter registration and the drive-through with Buffalo Soldiers and how that looks. And we were also expanding on what people can expect. Let's go back over that, what they can expect on next Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to make sure that we keep everything socially distant, make sure that we put all the safety measures and protocol in place in terms of masks. So masks are mandatory for volunteers or anybody working the event. The drive-through portion, of course, is to make sure that there's not a lot of interaction with the guests who are coming and our volunteers, and it just keeps people safe, so they don't have to get out their cars. We'll have clipboards and pens, and we'll make sure that we wash them after each time or sanitize them after each time, and make sure that we do as best as we can in terms of keeping everyone safe.
That sounds great. Leela, let's go back to you. By voter registration and how critical it is, even locally, voter registration, voting locally is very serious. And a lot of people just think, oh, I'll vote for the president and then I'll wait for the 4 years. But locally affects you a lot of times immediately.
Correct. And you actually you feel the immediate effect.
Yes.
As far as getting out and having your voice heard. I agree that often we kind of miss the forest for the trees, so that's just another thing that we just have to address within our communities, and making sure that we educate one another, each one teach one, the importance of the big overall concept of voting, that it's just not at the top, it actually starts at the bottom. So absolutely, it's important to vote locally, which leads to and makes a difference of what happens at the top.
Absolutely. The other thing people always say, and this is to Leela also, is that my vote doesn't count. It doesn't matter if I don't vote. Hear that all the time.
Yeah, you definitely hear it, especially with some of the younger kids or generation. I don't want to say kids, but that was more the reason why I wanted to be involved with something of this nature, because I feel like there is a stigma that's attached to voting right now,
Yes.
and there's a level of discouragement that exists. And so people, they're not feeling like they are being heard, or they will be heard again, or it will make a difference. So we have to kind of try to change the narrative. We need to try to start to encourage and speak life into a concept that can really create, if we utilize things the right way, a better life for us all. And so I just feel like, based off of the parties that's involved, we can hopefully start to give a different face to the idea of voting. And it's okay to vote, it's cool to vote, like come out and vote, rock the vote.
Yeah.
Vote to power, have what I mean, have your voice heard. We got to change the narrative that it doesn't matter, because it does matter.
It absolutely does. Desmond, let's jump right in to millennials. You represent millennials, the age group. What are your guys' thoughts, as you hear the narrative of voting? What do you hear, as we say in the streets?
What they say in the streets.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing sort of the same thing like Leela just mentioned. So it's about changing the narrative. It's putting a different face to voting. So historically, people will see like our current administration and the faces that they see in office, and it doesn't look like them. And they may have voted in 2016, and it seems like it didn't matter, but that's not the case. It's the multitudes, it's the masses of people that we have to reach and make it look pretty, make it look fun, make it look like it's something of privilege. And I think that's what we have to get back to. In the civil rights era in the 60s, it was that. People were excited that they could now vote. So we've got to get that momentum back. And it's starting with millennials. I mean, my grandparents are still voting because they know the importance of it. And they had to be a part of that movement where they couldn't vote, or that time they couldn't vote. We didn't have that. We've always been able to vote. We've always had all of these so-called rights, but now we're fighting for it again. So I think we have to make it, like Leela said, we have to make it fun again. We have to make it seem like it's something of great importance and privilege to do.
I'm glad that, Desmond, you mentioned that. And Leela, let's jump back to you. At one point, remember Obama this was his first run in thinking about it, a black president. We couldn't even fathom us having one, and then one was running, okay? So
Right.
So it either said vote or die. I remember, Puffy and everybody else, vote or die, vote or die, vote or die. But it's so critical now. That's really real this time. Vote or die.
Yeah, it was real then, but it's definitely real now, because we actually already dying. To be
Exactly.
honest.
We're
They're
dying.
killing us. So
Yeah.
it's hopefully that phrase will probably strike an even deeper chord this year. Definitely, it's imperative. I keep stressing the fact
Yes.
that we all get out and vote, because it's just a critical time. And I think bringing up that Obama era, that was a time where everyone felt excited, because the
Yes.
idea we can have a black president, oh my gosh, so there was an excitement there was pride there. And so when it happened, it brought back a level of maybe there is hope. So, and we've lost that in these past 4 years, understandably, but we have to figure out a way to encourage ourselves, and again get that narrative change where we get excited again and feel passionate and prideful. It's an honor to be able to vote,
Right.
and if it wasn't a good thing, or if it wasn't effective, it wouldn't be such a thing to try to suppress us from voting.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And Desmond, let's jump back to you. You were saying the thing about suppression as far as IDs and things, Let's not, and voting as far as mail-in votes, absentee voting.
Yeah, what we're talking about, it's a scare tactic.
Yes.
It's to suppress the vote, to get people not to vote, because people won't trust you. It's just like the census. The census is another very, very important thing. I know we're talking about voting, but the census is very, very important, because it's $1 trillion that are at stake. For one, let's start with that. And these days, it's just as important as voting. And so they're going to push all of these things out into the public to make sure that you don't get out and vote. So like Leela said, like if it wasn't important, if it wasn't something that we need to do and that was going to incite change or spark change, then they wouldn't be trying to keep us from doing it. So things like mail-in voting, saying that there's fraud and it's going to be fake ballots and things of that sort, and people are going to manipulate that system. That's just not true. And also with early voting and getting out during the pandemic, there are so many things that different cities and counties and states are doing to ensure that people can vote and vote safely. Like we're using NRG here in Houston to do like drive-through, polling places. So there is a lot of opportunity for people to vote. There's really no excuse.
Right. We want to reiterate that October the 5th is the last day of voter registration, and then the 13th through the 30th is early voting. So, Leela, let's jump to you. We've got 2 weeks to vote early, and still people wait.
Yep, we have 2 weeks to vote early. So I'm glad we're having this moment now where we start putting out that energy.
Yes.
Because some people, they definitely don't even realize that the time is of essence and the clock is ticking. So, yes, we have 2 weeks to go, and we're around the corner from November. Countdown, let's go. Can't get here any quicker if you ask me, but yes, we're right at the we're right at the cusp of getting everything in line. And so we just want everyone to come out and get registered if you're not registered, and you can't leave your house, whatever the case may be. Definitely mail in, you know, but vote. Vote. If you're registered, definitely vote. Don't sit back and say it's not going to make a difference. It will make a difference. What will affect us if we don't vote?
Right.
People, not voting will affect us. You know, I've heard that too. Well, I don't like either party or whatever. But not voting is just as bad as giving the party that you really don't like a vote. So,
and that's why we're in this situation, Leela, right now, and Desmond, because a lot of people did not vote.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you really don't like that person, that's more the reason to vote.
Right.
Because you're actually helping that person that you say you don't like.
Right. That's exactly what happened. So, it was more people this time that did not vote.
If you don't like that person, go ahead and vote. Because that's you know what I mean?
You should not like them more than you like.
Right. Yeah. Come on and get registered so you can have your voice heard.
Exactly. we've got to move. If we don't collaboratively come together like you guys have, I love the fact that the collaboration, pulling everything you can together. Let's talk about it. Let's tell people everywhere we can, because this is very critical. To be honest, we're in ICU.
Absolutely. And it's strength in numbers. I was honored to partner up with these beautiful brothers and sisters. And, if we can continue to move and work like this in general, I think it'll be excellent just for our communities across the board. We need to have more collaborations of such, because there's strength in numbers.
It is. Yeah. And back in the 60s or so, when we were, back in the 60s or so, we had to come together because we couldn't lean on anybody else. We had to lean on each other.
Yeah. We all we got.
Exactly. And we still all we got. We just don't know it.
Yeah. Exactly.
we don't have a clue that we really all we got,
Right. So again, that's why it's so important that, the cliche saying, but it's real, each one teach one, because so many of us are sleepwalking right now. We not awake. We're not up. We're not woke to what's happening right before our eyes. And that's how so many things are able to slip away from us.
Right.
And the next thing you know, it's like you said, we're in ICU now, then we dead.
Exactly.
Apocalypse.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Desmond? Apocalypse.
It just seems like we're in like a war zone, and we are.
And we are.
It's really at war.
Yeah.
We're fighting for our lives.
We really are.
Yeah.
This COVID is serious. Anytime you can't go with a family member inside with them to the hospital, in the room to the hospital or anything, that, something's major there. You cannot go inside.
Listen, I feel like if this year alone hasn't inspired non-voters to get out and vote, I don't know what will.
I'm telling you.
I just heard some just off the wall stuff like, well, this person did this back in the day. I'm like, okay, well, can we talk about this the last 4 years, this past 6 months?
Yeah.
Like, hello, you want more of this? Like, this is crazy. Like, I mean, I don't understand. So whatever, we just got to do what we got to do, and try to change our current situation as best as possible, because we literally are dying.
Yes, we literally are dying. We are. And every time we look up, there's a new law or something that has changed that we don't know about because we're too busy screaming and marching on something else, and they've changed something while we're doing it.
Right before our eyes. Yes.
That's one of those things that you have to. It's one thing to vote and register, and I think we were talking about it earlier. But you have to be aware. You have to be knowledgeable of who these people are, what school they went to, that type of stuff. You have to know their background, because if you're just voting just to vote, and when people pass out the flyers at the polling places, then you're not woke. Like you were saying, you're not woke. You got to be woke. You got to pay attention to what's happening.
And see, there's another big thing
everybody with the same skin and kin.
I love that one. That one right there.
I'm just saying. We see that happening down in Kansas right now with Breonna Taylor's case. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's
we need
it.
Justice.
That's it.
Can we talk about it?
Let's talk about it. Seriously, people, and let's talk about what you just said, Breonna Taylor.
That look like us, that don't work for us all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, like, you have to know who people are.
Right. And I'm glad you brought Breonna Taylor up.
Because everybody that's your skin ain't your kin.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's such a great example.
The story of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, all of that. That should be, for people that look like us, brown and black people, that should be enough to get us out to vote. But it doesn't seem like that's enough, because I'm still hearing people say that vote doesn't matter, I'm not voting, not registered, don't look to register. But can we revisit these stories that we've seen in this year alone? That should be enough for us to spark some type of change and stop dying. Exactly.
And this is 4 more years. People don't realize this. This is not just a day. This is, whoever wins is 4 more years.
And these past, several 9 months of 2020 have already felt like 10 years. So
exactly.
I don't know that we can manage 4 years. This is from where we were 4 years ago to where we are today.
Yes.
It's like 2 different worlds completely, and to the point where it just feels like 4 or 5 years ago never even existed. Because it's a new world that we're in. It's like, were we dreaming? Like, dang, did we ever really have a black president? Or were we ever really free? Like, this is crazy. It just feels like you said some apocalyptic.
Right now.
So
it's a bad affair.
Absolutely. So let's think about this. 40 million people are unemployed. 40 million plus people. It's 330 million in America. That's from census. Again, Desmond, you're right. That's only from the census. Okay? And it's 45 million African Americans from the census. So we're only 13% of the United States from the census.
And we don't want to talk about the folks that's dead.
Good point.
I'm just saying, we died this year. We've been dying.
Exactly.
Taking us out. If it ain't COVID, it's something else.
This COVID is something. It's serious. It's major, and people are not wearing the mask. That's a whole nother.
We're just being affected and hit in so many different directions.
Yes. So we look at that, and we look.
Be another, not to cut you off, but that's another reason that we should be voted. Like the fact that it hit our community so hard.
Yes.
And we had no support or people weren't telling us like why this is happening. Yeah. That's not the type of administration we want.
Well, it was a hoax at first, remember? It was a hoax.
Yeah,
The hoax.
it was a hoax.
Yes. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't a hoax. We're dying. More people are dying.
Hmm.
You know?
And
It
now
was
they're
a hoax. It
saying,
was just the
I never
flu.
said it was a hoax.
Right.
So they're retracting.
Oh, which lie we talking about?
What
Can't
day
keep
is it?
up with them. It's been so many.
What day is it?
You know,
Whatever.
exactly. It's so crazy that we say that, but it's real. And he's on Twitter more than other people. It's like, what is he crazy?
Every day.
Every-
It's like it's the craziest reality show ever.
That's it. It's a reality show. You're right. Well, he did say he's not a politician. He is a business person. He was on a reality.
Yeah.
So, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly. But look at the dynamic now. We've gotten all of these businesses that have gone out of business, but they received all of this money. They received all these loans and they've received the PPP and all of this money, and they still have gone out of business.
Yeah, we just don't have a good team. We don't have a good administration that's caring about small businesses.
Yeah.
Here at the museum, we're considered mid-size, but we struggle just like the rest of them. It took us 2 times to apply for the PPP loan to actually get any money. But you had these huge corporations that was getting all millions of dollars.
Yes.
But we struggle for a few little thousand little coin, I said, I would call it. But and that's because it starts from the top.
Yes.
And we don't have people that's pulling for us.
Absolutely. So a lot of people still, like we were saying, are unemployed. Then you want to send us $1,200 to last us a year.
Right.
What's anyway? $1,200 to pay your rent and all the other stuff you got to pay.
One time. Go to McDonald's.
Just one.
$1,200.
And that's to stimulate the economy. That $1,200.
Just pitiful.
And the thing about it is they expected people to use this money to go and put it out into the economy. So if you're stimulating the economy, then they have to spend the money out in the economy, but stuff is shut down. So where do you think they spending their money?
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. We're limited on time. Let's talk about the date again. Desmond, you tell us?
Yeah, so September 22nd, here at the Buffalo Soldier National Museum, 3816 Caroline. We'll be here all day, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're just wanting to get people registered. If you're not registered, if you've moved, if you've changed addresses, if anything has changed, any of that information needs to match your ID. Your address has to match your ID. So anything that has changed, come on September 22nd, and we can help you with that.
Absolutely. Miss Leela James, let's talk to people again. Let's leave something with the viewers about why they should vote again.
They should vote so they won't die.
That's critical. Yeah, that's it. Just like that. Just like that. I love it. Period. Point blank, right? I appreciate both of you for coming on. Desmond, you want to say some last words?
I would just encourage people to, we've been talking about voting, but I encourage you to educate yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you're aware of what's happening locally, of what's happening regionally and federally. You want to be in the know. If you're not a news watcher, look on Facebook, Instagram. There's always people sharing stuff about information. Look up websites. Just be active and register to vote. And don't just register, but vote on election day, early voting, mail-in voting, whatever the case may be. And if you can stop by on September 22nd, please do.
Sounds good. Let's give that address again.
And we're at 3816 Caroline, Houston, Texas, 77004. Right in Midtown, a few minutes from downtown in the museum district. You can't miss us. We're here.
You're here. Miss Leela James, I surely appreciate you. Thank you for everything you do all year long. And it's so much she does. I'm telling you, she's just being modest today. But she gives back through the community she's given for years and years. I appreciate you, lady, for everything you do. Mr. Desmond, thank you for opening your door and allowing us the opportunity to even vote, do voter registration. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Have a great one. And that is September 22nd. That is next Tuesday, 10 to 4 p.m. I appreciate both of you. Thank you so much. On tomorrow, 12:30 to 1:30, we will see my friend Christopher Reed Kidd, as well as Cupid and Tamisha Horton. Take care. Bye.